This.
Okay.
Hello, hello. Welcome to today's member showcase. Today I'm joined by the lovely Emma Backshall from Revive Fitness and Wellbeing, one of our wonderful members of our Chelmsford group. Emma works with women in midlife and beyond to help them feel vibrant, strong, and truly alive again inside and out. And I love it when she does her introduction at WiBN because you really feel those words when you say them. What I love about Emma's approach is how she blends Eastern and Western philosophies across six key pillars. So it isn't just one simple approach. And it isn't just about fitness, it's about a real holistic way of looking at your health and well-being. And with nearly 30 years experience in business, she brings a huge depth of experience. So, Emma, I'm looking forward to getting into this. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Vicky. It's great to be here. Always love chatting with you.
I know we always have a good conversation, you and I,
Yeah.
don't we? Let's kick off at the very beginning, not like the day you were born, not quite that
Okay.
far back. But can you take us back? Because I know we've obviously had some different conversations in the past before. Can you take me back to that moment in time in Kenya and how that experience shaped kind of where you then went and what you now do?
Yeah, sure. So the reason I ended up in Kenya was because I'd had some pearls that had belonged to my mum stolen when I was on another holiday. And so rather than having something else that could be stolen, I decided I want to make a memory of my mum, something that I could cherish internally and really reflect on and not have to worry about that memory being stolen. So I booked with a friend this holiday to Kenya, and it was just so breathtaking being out in the savannah at 5 a.m. So quiet and calm and tranquil, and just being out with nature and that real kind of sort of excitement about who and what we were going to see and what was going to be approaching us. And that raw nature that you get when you are out on a safari and you're seeing the animals in their natural habitat. It's so quiet. That just made me think that there was more to life than getting on a train and going into a corporate office in London. But at that point, and I guess that was a bit of a seed for me to start thinking about, was that what I wanted to do for the rest of my life? But in that moment, I didn't know how I was going to make that transition
Yeah.
from where I was. But it was just that little seed. I mean, we've all had little seeds and pivot points in our lifetime, haven't we, that shift the trajectory of where we're going. So, yeah.
And how long after that trip did you then like kind of quit that train journey and that corporate job
Yeah.
and go down your own business route? Was it a long time? Was it a short period of time?
So it was probably about 4.5, 5 years, and there was another pivot point in there that kind of really gave me that next
Yeah.
shift. Well, in fact, there was two. One of them was getting a 5 foot filing cabinet for me when I was sat at my desk. That was one. That was as if that wasn't a big sign that I was in the wrong job.
I mean,
Um,
that's my height. I'm 5 foot two. I'm thinking, God, if I had that next to me, oh yeah, no, that would not feel great.
No, I was kind of pinned to my desk at that point.
Hmm.
But anyway, so that was one aspect. And then the other aspect, and I know a lot of us have had those real life-changing moments. And it was really when my dad passed away. It was just before his 61st birthday, just before my 30th. And again, that was another pivot point for me. I just felt I'd always had a passion for health, fitness, and well-being, and I just thought this was something that could have been preventable. And I didn't
Yeah.
want other people to go through that
Go
pain
through.
of losing
Yeah.
somebody so dear to them. So that was another pivot point, that it's a collection of things, isn't it? These little signs that we get sent and we don't take notice of them. And then finally,
We do.
we,
Yeah, I
we
a
do.
100% hear you. I had my 50th birthday. my dad had passed away not long before that. And I was a bit like, if I don't do what I want to do now, I'm like, yeah, I was like you, I was getting on a plane traveling all around the world for work, which sounds really glamorous, but we know it really isn't.
Yeah.
And there's just this moment in time where you're like, there needs to be, I want to make a change. And it's been brave, isn't it? I remember a lot of my friendship circle were like, oh my God, you're so brave. I didn't feel brave. I just felt like it was the right thing to
Yeah.
do. Just going back to the safari, I went to I can't remember the name of the park now, but I do remember being out in a truck for hours and there being nothing. And we'd be like, what are we doing? This is supposed to be a holiday. And then out of a bush, a group of elephants came in front of us, and we were just like, this is why we've done it, because you just don't know what you're going to see. Yeah,
No.
highly
And that's the
recommend. Highly
magic,
recommend an
isn't
African
it?
journey for everyone.
Yeah, and that's the magic in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think that is a big lesson to all of us that around, is this actually a lesson in patience? You know, it's that because we just want everything now, don't we? And
instantly.
sometimes
Yeah,
it's in that real moment, that stillness, and
yeah,
that the magic happens, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to understand where your kind of journey started. Let's get into a little bit of depth about what it is you actually offer. What does that look like? What are the different things that you do to help bring that health and well-being service to life?
Yeah. So I think also, if I can just explain a little bit before that, when I first qualified as a personal trainer, it was very much for me. I recognized that it wasn't about a flat stomach and a big bicep. It was way more than that. Clients were offloading to me, and I didn't necessarily feel that I had the skills to be able to help support them. You know, was I going to say something that was going
Yeah,
to make the situation worse? So, from my experiences, then I gathered up all of these additional tools. So, kind of NLP core transformation, yoga, Pilates, the Chinese five element theory, and blend and nutrition, and blended all of these together. So, which brings that whole holistic approach. So, people come to me at different stages. So, if somebody initially, we will have that consultation, which is where my kind of power hour comes in really well, because this is the point at which we find out exactly where somebody is. Because, you know, I want to make support them in a way that feels achievable. So they're getting some small wins straight away. But equally, if I've got somebody coming to me that's already along that health and wellness journey, then the advice I'm going to give them is going to be slightly
yeah,
different. You know, it's a process, isn't it? I really want it to be bespoke. We are all unique. Everyone is unique. Everyone has had a different lived experience through life. You know, we all came into the world differently. We all had different parenting. We've all had different experiences. So that impacts everyone. And so I want to be able to work with a client exactly where they're at.
yeah.
So on that journey, we will look at those six pillars around hydration, around nutrition, around sleep, around breathing, because we underestimate how powerful breathing is. You know, it's your free tool. We have it with us every single day, every
And
moment of the day.
none of us do it very
No,
well.
I know exactly, because we're also stressed apart from anything
Yeah,
else. And obviously we have exercise in there as well, and mindset is really key too. So for some clients, it's actually their mindset and their limiting beliefs that are stopping them from moving forward. You know, the belief about themselves.
yeah.
And so sometimes it's also about clearing that up so that they can move forward and have the life that they deserve and that they want.
Yeah, and we know that to be true because we all know the things that we should be doing. We
Yeah.
should be getting a good night's sleep. We should be drinking plenty of water. We should be eating the rainbow, as I often hear, you know, eating all those colourful fruits and veg. We shouldn't be eating too much sugar. We should, you know, we should be doing all these things, but we don't do it. And that usually comes down to a mindset shift, doesn't it? There's
Yeah.
something that's stopping us from actually taking the action. So if you're working with somebody and you've had that initial kind of well-being power hour that you talk about, are you then working with them on a couple of pillars? Because I know for me, if you said to me we're going to work on all six pillars at the same time, I'd just be like, not that I'm confused, but that's too much for me to take on in one go. Do
Yeah.
you focus pillar at a time depending on the needs?
Yeah, so in that initial para, we're going to identify where the most need is. And
Yeah,
so some people will come to me with what they want to achieve anyway. So somebody might come to me, especially midlife, that they've heard they need to be strength training. So what they're actually coming to me is with a requirement to strength train. And so that might be the route that we take, but all of these other bits and pieces are going to be fed, pardon the pun, into
yeah,
that whilst I'm working with them as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Vicky. I mean, we know the stats, don't we,
yeah,
around the fact if you give somebody three things to do in one go, the overwhelm is there and then they end up not doing anything. But if we do one thing or two things, the success rate is huge, isn't it? And so,
yeah, absolutely.
and I
Yeah,
think I also want to match somebody with where their lifestyle is at. If it's a female in midlife and they've got aging parents they're looking after, they've still got youngsters living at home, they've got a job, they might be running their own business. There is so much going on. And actually, for some people, it's about let's not worry about taking things out. For example, if we're looking at their nutrition, let's just get some good stuff in, and then you'll be feeling better about yourself. You'll have the energy, and then you will be able to just some of those sort of things that we would classify as being less than helpful for our health and well-being will just trickle off anyway because you're feeling so much better, and you will have more energy to tackle some of those other things as,
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's how I work in business when I mentor with clients as well. If I try and give clients too many things that they need to do, it's about having those quick wins that then feed us to go, well, I want to do more now. I've had success with that. I'm seeing the impact of that. And you very much, well, you did help me that you supported me to give up drinking Diet Coke before 12 o'clock, because I would start my day at 6 in the morning with a Diet Coke. And by going through that well-being hour with you and figuring out what that was, yes, I do use a supplement, but now it means that actually I'm drinking a litre of water probably before 7 o'clock now, and I'm not touching a Diet Coke till after midday. Now that's massive for me. For somebody watching this, they might go, really? You just needed to give up Diet Coke? But I had a serious addiction that was not serving me. And then once I got into the liter of water, then I'm like, right now I want to go and do some strength training. So I'm building that up with the different things I do. My next tackle is, more, eating better, and that'll be the next thing I work on. So you talked about ladies in midlife. What other challenges that you typically see with us ladies of a certain generation?
Yeah, so oh my goodness. I think one of the things that it's that feeling that everything that you once knew about yourself is no longer true.
Mm.
It's that feeling that this alien has taken over control of your mind and your body. And again, I think because women are juggling so many plates, um, it's fine when we can understand our body as well and we know what works for us. But then that is such a huge piece when things don't, our body doesn't start to perform in the way that it did
Used
before.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. But now we're struggling to cope with the things that we were doing on a daily basis, and especially when we're running our businesses as well. As estrogen declines, we become more overwhelmed by situations that didn't bother us in the past. And so that's a big piece around that. It feels like we don't feel safe in our body anymore. So a lot of it is helping women to understand these little tweaks that they can make in their day that will help support them and give them that resilience back and help them to understand that they're not going mad, you
Yeah.
know. But we're not meant to be juggling all these things as we go through these big hormone changes. And we our bodies has evolved in a different way to how our bodies are meant to behave. And so I think a lot of it as well, I love to educate women as well so that they understand what is actually going on in their
Going
bodies.
on.
So it's not that we're saying it would be better if you don't have X or Y, or you don't do X and Y, but this is the reason. And I think once we have an understanding as to the reason why, it adds more weight to helping to make that change, and it gives us more momentum, because that momentum will change whether you're at the beginning of your journey or whether it's, middle journey or end of journey. In the same way with business, Vicky, isn't it really?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, education on whatever you're going through or you want to learn about is so key in everything that we do,
Mm.
especially when it comes to, there's so much noise out there around what we should and what we shouldn't be doing. It's very easy to go down either a TikTok or an Instagram rabbit hole of, I need to be taking all these supplements, I need to be doing this powder, I need to be, whatever it is, and that is bombarded at us. And that information isn't always on the side of the person that's being educated. It's very often on the side of what I'm trying to sell, and therefore isn't necessarily the right thing for me. But being educated in a way to go, okay, I see what that product is for. I don't need that product, or I don't have those symptoms. But yeah, absolutely, that education of what is going to be valuable to us.
Mm.
I mean, I see plenty of my friendship circle spending a fortune on all sorts of different types of supplements. And I'm sure it's just a placebo effect most of the time on some of the stuff they take, which leads me nicely to kind of my next question. There is so much noise around that. If someone is feeling really overwhelmed about seeing all these different things, particularly as women, we should be taking, what are a couple of things that you'd say focus on first? Get those things right first before you look at the next list of things that you could be doing and
Yeah.
taking.
In terms of supplements, Vicky, or
Yeah,
just, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
supplements
I
or
think,
health or exercise trends. What might it be that you go, look, do those two things first and then build from there?
yeah. So if someone is not drinking any water, that is my
Me.
absolute, that is my absolute first step, it is so important. And I know, again, not everybody likes the taste of water, but what I would say is it's free. And if you had a health condition, and you knew that the medication that you were taking was going to solve a lot of the issues that you were having, we would take it in the main, wouldn't we? So we have
Yeah,
to put water on that same level. We have a hydration pyramid. We only need a 2% drop in hydration for us to start to lose focus and cognitive function. Well,
wow.
most women in midlife are there anyway. So let's not add to that one, let's water ourselves, let's make sure we're hydrated. If we're then having enough water, our organs will be hydrated. If we're then fully hydrated, our soft tissue, so our muscles, tendons, ligaments, our fascia will all be hydrated. So this is how important it is to stay
It is, yeah.
hydrated.
So it works from the brain to the organs
Yeah,
to the skin.
absolutely. And we know also that women are more prone to injury, because of the less muscle strength and collagen that we have in our bodies. So again, we want to make sure that we're helping support and keeping everything hydrated. So we that is going to contribute to less injuries as well. Better digestion, better bowel movements, all of
Yeah,
that, better skin. In terms of supplementation, the key areas that we want to look at as women in life is we want to make sure that our liver is detoxing optimally. Now, this does not mean to say there's anything wrong with your liver. We are just bombarded by toxins from every
yeah.
direction. So it's like our liver is walking through sticky toffee. So some of the things I have, as you know, Vicky, I've always got my green stuff. Some of my clients call it ditch water. But anyway, this is Phyto Life, and it helps the liver. It also helps the skin. It aids digestion, and it helps with energy levels as well. So that's a real kind of brief overview. I can always go into more detail with anybody if they're interested. And then liver health formula. A lot of women get UTIs in midlife as well.
Yeah.
The liver health formula helps not only the liver, but it also helps with the kidneys and the urinary tract as well. So they would definitely be two that I would say would be good to be taking. Magnesium, everyone's magnesium deficient, so I use Body Prime. That has magnesium, apple pectin, and prune powder in to aid motility through the gut. Because again, that's a detox pathway, and if people aren't having proper bowel movement, sorry, we always have to have a bowel chat
Yeah, no,
when
no,
we're talking
it's
about
fine.
this.
No, we do,
Yeah,
it's the
but
reality, isn't it?
yeah,
If we're
it
not
is.
clearing, if we're not clearing through,
Exactly. And
then
what happens is these toxins get locked in our fat cells that the liver can't deal with. That creates inflammation. That scrambles the hormonal messages and the messages going from the gut to the brain. So, let's start foundation level. Let's get the foundation right, and then we can build from there. In the same way that we don't suddenly, well, hopefully we don't suddenly go into the gym if we've never lifted weights and start lifting heavy weights. Again, women are more prone to frozen shoulder. So let's do those rotator cuff movements first. Let's get the foundation of the shoulder first before we go and lift a heavy weight. So it's all of
just
those
we're just not,
tricks.
yeah, we're just not very good at starting like that, are we?
No, I
We go,
know.
right, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to start doing this, and we go all in, and that's why we then give up after 3, 7, 10 days. Um, in terms of all those different supplements, I mean, if they could change that green juice from being just a different color, I could probably do it. I have something about, and it's obviously a mindset thing. I have something about drinking things that are green. I'm just like, I just can't do it. Or maybe I just need to put it in a bottle that I can't see through, and therefore I don't
Perfect.
know what color it is.
Yeah, and visualize the great benefits to your liver that it's doing. So think about what it's doing, not what it tastes
Not
like.
what color,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The one I take, the supplement I take, has got a really nice flavour to it, so I don't have any problems with that. But
Yeah.
this is where your wellbeing power hour, you're really getting into this, aren't you? So
Yeah.
you're talking about the right things that are going to help the person that you're talking to at that moment in time, rather than, here's 20 things that you need to take, and suddenly you've got pill boxes popping with all these different
Yeah.
supplements to take. If somebody wants to have one of your wellbeing power hours, how is it best to get in contact with you?
So they either email me at Emma at revivefitnessandwellbeing.co.uk or DM me on Instagram at Emma Backshall Revive. Yeah.
And I will put those, both the Instagram and the email, in the show notes. So if you do want to contact Emma, you'll find her details in the description for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today, Emma. It's always lovely to chat with you. I always learn something new as well.
Oh,
More things I should be taking. I probably need to talk to you about magnesium the next time I see you at Chelmsford. I think it would be good to have a conversation on what my next steps should be, because
yeah,
I've got into my
absolutely.
rhythm of what I need. But if you would like to reach out to Emma, please do go ahead. She is a font of the most amazing knowledge. Hopefully you've seen that as she talks about all the different elements of what she does. I will see you soon at WiBN Chelmsford.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Vicky. Lovely to chat to you. Have a great